Forget everything you know about male idols. These 10 will blow your mind. They wear lace, heels, and eyeliner. They don't follow trends. They create them. No labels, no apologies, just bold expressions that challenge the way the world views masculinity. So what's really going on here? Fashion, rebellion, or something else? Let us know what you think. Comments are always open, and your voice matters. This video is not intended to speculate about anyone's personal identity. We celebrate the diversity of artistic expression and the evolving language of fashion and performance. Imagine walking into a room where no one knows your name and still turning heads. That's the silent superpower of BTS's Kim Taehyung. He doesn't have to pose. He just is. From the moment he stepped onto the stage in a velvet jacket and pearl earrings, yes, pearl earrings, he made waves in the K-pop world. It's not just fashion, it's a statement. Whether he's wearing a silk suit or a genderless Celine blouse with combat boots, V makes you say, wait, can men wear this? Should I wear this? V's style doesn't beg for attention, it demands reflection. In 2019, Vogue Korea called him a fashion chameleon, and for good reason. One day he's a classic Parisian romantic, the next, a 90s punk prince in Saint Laurent. And somehow, it all works. But the real magic here, it's not the fashion, it's the freedom. And V does it better than anyone. Let's talk about the music, because if style is his armor, then sound is his soul. V's solo songs like Stigma, Singularity, and Blue and Gray are filled with complex emotions. His vocals are provocative, yes, but there's more. A vulnerability, a sensuality, a tenderness rarely seen in male idols. When he performs Singularity, wearing a white mask and moving through layers of flowing black silk, it feels less like a concert and more like a living art installation. Every gesture is intentional. Every pause, a moment of quiet drama. For many viewers, especially those drawn to expression that transcends binary boundaries, the message resonates, not because it's said, but because it's felt. V doesn't proclaim meaning, he creates space for you to find your own. And sometimes, that silence says more than words. In a world obsessed with clarity, V leans toward ambiguity. He doesn't define, he embodies. There's a reason queer fans around the world say, we see ourselves in him. And you don't have to be a member of any community to feel that empathy. His art simply asks, what if beauty didn't need a box? So here's our question for you. When was the last time an artist made you question the lines between masculinity and femininity? Between fashion and emotion? Between performance and presence? Now let's get one thing straight. V has never come out or made any public statements about his identity. And you know what? That's okay. Because not every icon needs to explain themselves to be understood. Sometimes, silence is part of art. He shared his love for artists like Egon Schiele and Van Gogh, and once posted a photo of himself in full makeup, with the simple caption, "Feeling beautiful today." It wasn't a moment, it was a message. Tenderness isn't weakness. Expression isn't explanation. There's something incredibly modern and frankly about someone who just lives their authentic self, without apologies, without announcements, without performing for permission. And perhaps that's what makes V such a powerful icon, not just for the LGBTQ+ community, but for anyone who's ever felt different. So, let's put this aside, not to speculate, just to celebrate. What does V's expression mean to you? Does he inspire you to dress a little more boldly, sing a little louder, or be a little gentler with yourself? We'd love to hear from you, whether you're a longtime ARMY or just discovering him now. Let's be honest, when you first see Eun-woo, your mind goes blank. Is it the perfect jawline? The incredibly symmetrical face? Or maybe it's the quiet confidence that somehow manages to make a stronger impression than a stadium full of fans. But behind that almost legendary good looks lies a story more interesting than any most handsome idol title. Eun-woo, actor, singer, fashion muse, and quiet rebel, has spent years pushing the boundaries of what's expected of a K-pop idol, and gently breaking them. He's just walked through it, in pearls and sheer tops. And while Astro debuted with a youthful image, boy next door Eun-woo has slowly been forging a different path for himself. His music videos and solo photo shoots, often filled with soft pastels, subtle prints, and gender-bending outfits. Think lace tops, velvet jackets, chokers. Not flashy, just intentional. Like his viral 2022 Vogue Korea cover, where he wore a sheer blouse tucked into tailored trousers, his face glowing under soft lighting. No slogans, no statements. But the message was clear. Beauty knows no gender. Did you notice? Or did it just feel right without explanation? Eun-woo doesn't shout his thoughts, but he expresses them. Through his music, his fashion, his subtle gaze, and his choices that are more poetic than on-brand. In both his solo projects and his performances with Astro, he's embraced an aesthetic that's a radical departure from traditional Korean masculine norms. Just look at his Starry Caravan concert images or his appearances on the runways of Dior Men and Alexander McQueen, where soft masculinity reigns. Satin pants, soft makeup, curvaceous bodies. Some fans call it daring, others, beautiful. He also frequently inspires unisex beauty brands like Estée Lauder and Dashu in their skincare campaigns with bright, radiant close-ups. Not a man trying to be masculine, but a man comfortable with his art. No scandals, no show-offs. Just a quiet excitement in refusing to limit how he expresses himself. And maybe that's why so many fans, especially the younger LGBTQ+ audience, feel seen, safe, validated. What do you think? Can someone challenge norms simply by choosing to show their true self? So, what do we make of Cha Eun-woo? Is he a fashion icon, a queer icon, or simply a man redefining masculinity on his own terms? The truth is, we don't need to label it. Because sometimes the most powerful thing an artist can do is be themselves and let others follow. And Eun-woo, he doesn't just walk the runway. He walks the between expectation and performance with the grace of someone who knows exactly who he is, even if he never says it. His story reminds us that fame doesn't always come from hashtags. Sometimes it comes from a soft exterior, a lace collar, and the courage to be gentle. And maybe that's the kind of courage we need more of. So tell us, what does Cha Eun-woo's transformation mean to you? Do you see it as rebellion or simply sincerity in keeping with the times? Let's continue the conversation in the comments. No assumptions, no boxes. Feel free to share, because everyone's story matters here. There's the confidence, and then there's G-Dragon, the kind of presence that not only draws attention but rewrites the dress code. Remember when he wore a leopard print fur coat to his military service? That wasn't fashion, that was performance art. While others showed up in uniform, GD showed up as a metaphor. He's the rare artist whose silence resonates more than most people's discography. From his first days on stage with Big Bang, it was clear. G-Dragon wasn't here to fit in, he was here to shake things up. His aesthetic, part French catwalk, part Tokyo street punk. But somehow he made it look cool, without irony, with conviction. Here's what people forget, he believes in every look, and for that, so do we. If you had 5 minutes to rummage through G-Dragon's closet, would you choose the pink feather boa or the Swarovski crystal-encrusted leather dress? It's hard to choose, right? G-Dragon is more than just a performer. He's a shapeshifter, both musically and emotionally. Each album is like another chapter in a diary he swore he'd never let us read. Coup d'etat is more than just an album, it's a manifesto. Not against the government, but against expectations. About what a K-pop star should be. What he should look like. What he should be. You listen to his raps, and 1 second you're nodding along to the club beat, and the next you're clutching your chest as he whispers a heartbreaking line about loneliness. His voice is alternately cocky, sometimes shaky, sometimes teasing, sometimes quavering. He's not afraid to feel small in a world that expects idols to be invulnerable. That contradiction, that's where his talent shines. And let's not forget, G-Dragon was one of the first Korean soloists to perform dome tours in Japan, collaborate with Western legends, and dominate the charts without ever losing his identity. He's never been more in tune with the West. He's made the West come to him. So the real question here is G-Dragon a global icon because he's indefinable, or despite it? There's something powerful, something subtle about a man who wears better eyeliner than most actresses, and then smiles like it's no big deal. G-Dragon doesn't dress to impress. He dresses to perform. And every outfit tells a story that he doesn't have to explain. Whether it's a pearl-studded corset or an oversized Chanel tweed dress, it's never just a look, it's a feeling, a pose, a gentle middle finger to conformity. And perhaps the most inspiring thing about it, he never needs to declare anything. The vulnerability is in the art, in the shaky falsetto, in the mascara-smeared eyes, in the fact that he once said, "I like ambiguity, I want to live in it." It takes courage to say that, especially in an industry that demands clarity, masculinity, perfection. He's not gendered at all. He's just G-Dragon, unadulterated complexity. Does G-Dragon remind you of someone in your life? Someone brave enough to push boundaries, choose softness over safety, and art over praise? Leave your thoughts below. We're here to celebrate every shade of humanity. No limits, no boundaries, just boldness. Before the billboards, before the Dior suits, before the global fame, there was a boy from Busan. Park Jimin wasn't the loudest guy in the room, but when he danced, he commanded the silence. There was something hauntingly beautiful about his movements, like watching flames bend in the wind. When BTS debuted in 2013, he wasn't the center of attention. Some said he was too fragile. His voice was too soft. But that softness, it became his strength. He brought a vulnerability that K-pop rarely allows male idols to express, and he turned it into charisma. His background in contemporary dance gave him an edge, but it was his emotional intelligence on stage that took the world by surprise. Jimin didn't just dance, he told stories with his breath, his eyes, his fingertips. And slowly, fans around the world began to see him not just as a performer, but as a kind of emotional architect. Someone who could take the pain, the shame, the longing, and build something beautiful out of it. This is where things get really interesting. As BTS evolved, so did Jimin's style. But while others leaned into structure, into tailoring, into classic masculinity with a twist, Jimin entered a whole other world. He didn't just blur the lines between masculine and feminine, he layered them in lace and silver. At the 2019 MMA Awards, Jimin wore a light, flowing blouse with subtle details, soft, natural, and striking. It wasn't a statement piece, it was just him. Graceful, genuine, and completely comfortable in his own skin. From high-fashion embroidered outfits to soft silk stage outfits, Jimin's style speaks volumes, without needing to be explained. Beauty doesn't need armor to be powerful. And no, he's never made any statements about identity. He's never stood in front of a microphone and asserted himself. But does he need to? Or is his silent refusal to conform the boldest form of resistance? In his 2023 solo project, Face, the visuals are sexy, but not masculine. Instead of posing, he brings softness. Instead of ego, he shows vulnerability. It's a masterclass in emotional intimacy, wrapped in synths, sweat, and cinematic lighting. Does strength always come with sharp edges, or can tenderness be its own kind of rebellion? Let's be clear, Jimin has never said this is my brand. And maybe that's the point. In a media world obsessed with clarity and categorization, he's always been delightfully unique. And maybe that's the magic. He exists not as a statement, but as a presence. Whether it's the way he comforted Jungkook during tearful moments at award shows, or the way he's been open about body image and self-worth, Jimin has shown us that masculinity can go hand in hand with empathy. That beauty doesn't have to be expressed through muscles or showboating. He's not trying to act tough. He's strong because he allows himself to feel, to connect, to shine quietly in a world that often confuses numbers with worth. And that's why his story matters. Not because he fits a mold, but because he breaks it gracefully. So we want to hear from you. Has Jimin inspired you to rethink how you express yourself? What is your relationship to masculinity, beauty, or even tenderness? Leave your thoughts below. We read every comment. Have you ever met someone who says little, but somehow says it all? That's Jungkook. At 15, he debuted with the biggest K-pop group in the world. Millions of people screamed his name before he even knew who he was. Back then, he was the shyest young man, always polite, always perfect, always safe. But quietly, behind the scenes, something was brewing. Not rebellion, not drama, just a slow, quiet blossoming. Because somewhere along the way, Jungkook stopped dressing for the camera and started dressing in front of the mirror. And the boy who once asked his hungs for advice became the man who had designers all over the world falling in love with him. His stage outfits, a mix of bold street style and effortless elegance. His presence, ever evolving, playful yet grounded, soft yet unmistakably powerful. Still confident, yet never stuck in the same old ways. Let's talk about music. Because when Jungkook sings, he doesn't just hit the right notes, he reveals layers of meaning. Look at Euphoria. It's not just a love song, it's a personal statement wrapped in falsetto and freedom. A boy soaring. A voice that rings out, "This is the sound of happiness," when you're finally allowed to feel it. Then Seven came along, and with him came a new chapter. Jungkook wasn't just grown up, he was expressive, fearless, and completely himself. Tattooed arms, subtle nail polish, confident style, and a movement that balanced precision with poetry. Not a performance for applause, but a mirror for anyone still finding their voice. And then, the Calvin Klein campaign came out, monochromatic, minimalist, and unmistakably bold. Jungkook wasn't just standing in front of the camera, he was being himself. No slogans, no hashtags, just a quiet presence. A confidence that radiated without needing. He wasn't posing for attention, he was posing to express. And through that lens, he reminded millions. Authenticity isn't about what you wear, it's about how you express it. No labels, no statements, just art and a sense of self that doesn't need permission to exist. What's interesting here is, Jungkook never tells you what to believe. He never asks to be an icon. But icons aren't chosen, they're recognized. Because every time he steps on stage with painted nails or dances in a see-through top, millions of people, especially young people questioning everything about themselves, see someone saying wordlessly, "You can exist like this too." And maybe you've noticed it too. His gentleness is so unabashed. The way he makes masculinity seem optional. The way he stays silent somehow says more than any headline. It's not an accident, it's intentional. So let me ask you, yes, you watching right now. Do you think someone has to speak up to be authentic? Or is freedom enough? What do you see when you look at Jungkook? Just a pop star? Or a mirror? Because we're not here to label, we're here to listen, to reflect, to celebrate the power of presence, even if it's just a whisper. So go ahead, leave your thoughts below. Whether you're a longtime ARMY or just curious why this guy keeps popping up on your feed with 80 million likes and no captions, this is your space. And one last thing, if you ever feel like you don't quite fit the mold they've placed on you, Jungkook's story is a reminder. You don't have to. Debuting in 2018 with Stray Kids, Hyunjin is more than just a K-pop heartthrob. He's poetry in motion. Whether he's gliding across the stage in a sheer, Hyunjin makes you feel something. And the feeling often goes deeper than the music. He doesn't have to say he's different. He just moves differently, performs differently, dressed differently, and his fans know it. From bold choices like crop tops, mesh sleeves, and lace blazers, Hyunjin pushes boundaries, not because it's trendy, but because it's him. And that's the beauty of him. Now let's talk about the performance. Because Hyunjin isn't just a dancer, he's a true interpreter of emotion. That's exactly what he does. On stages like Red Lights, where the choreography is laced with tension, longing, and sensuality, fans of all stripes, geographies, feel something stirring. Not because it's obvious, but because it's sincere. He crafts his performances as masterpieces. Not with statements, but with subtlety. The expressive gestures, the gentle vulnerability of his solo track Play With Fire, the way he stares into the camera as if sharing a secret. That's art. Pure and unapologetic. And maybe that's what makes Hyunjin such a standout in today's tightly controlled, overly styled idol world. He's not trying to be an icon, he's just an artist. And isn't that what we crave more of? Not labels, not categories, but spaces. Spaces that are soft, fluid, powerful, and authentic. What do you think? Have you ever seen a performance that made you feel noticed without saying a word? Let's be honest, if fashion were a language, Hyunjin would be fluent in 6, and he switches between them like a pro. One day it's a prince-inspired satin ensemble, the next it's black leather, silver necklaces, and eyeshadow that would make a 90s runway queen jealous. Not because it's normal, but because it seems inevitable to Hyunjin. And here's the funny thing. JYP Entertainment, not exactly known for breaking gender norms, has stepped in. They've given him creative freedom in his style, choreography, and facial expressions. That's saying something. Even in a system built on rules, sometimes raw individuality still shines through. Hyunjin doesn't just redefine the concept of male idol. He does it with eyeliner, lace sleeves, and sometimes glitter tears. It's about dance moves. It's about whispers. Sometimes it's about simply wearing a sheer shirt and letting the moment speak. Do you think Hyunjin's artistic choices are helping to change the way we view gender expression in K-pop? Or is he just doing what great artists always do, reflecting who they are in the most beautiful way possible? Let us know in the comments. We're not here to label, we're here to listen. Because we celebrating differences, celebrating truth, and building a space where every story can be told with style, soul, and a little sparkle. In a world obsessed with noise, Kang is the rare star who moves like a breeze, but comes crashing in like a wave. His acting debut may have been quiet in supporting roles, but by the time Love Alarm aired, he was no longer a hidden gem. He was a cultural beacon. Good people didn't just see, they felt. What made him different? It wasn't just his looks, although those cheekbones deserve their own fan club. It was his quietness, his restraint, the way he portrayed the frailties of his male characters without remorse. His breakthrough as a ballerina in the play Navalera wasn't just a role. It was a rediscovery of vulnerability. He made the softness of a male dancer heroic. And for a Korean audience steeped in traditional masculinity, it was a quiet. He's not just acting, he's changing what it means to be a man on screen. Step off the screen, because that's where the story gets bolder. While most Korean actors stick to safe boxy suits and neutral tones, Kang paints a different palette. In 2023, his Vogue Korea shoot was a visual symphony. Lace gloves, pastel mesh tops, and dramatic silhouettes straight out of a genderless couture runway. It wasn't a costume. It wasn't a campaign for a character. It was just Kang being himself. Then came the Prada show in Milan. He appeared in wide-leg satin pants, a deep V-neck blouse, and soft, flashy makeup. And if fashion is a language, Kang is gracefully rewriting the dictionary, one silk blouse at a time. His Instagram becomes a silent protest. No hashtags, no identity statements, but visual evidence that gender expectations can be questioned not through words, but through wardrobe. His aesthetic freedom is not only personal, but political. Without speaking up, he gives the younger generation, especially boys who feel different, visual permission to explore softness, beauty, and art on their own terms. Here's the key point that most people miss. Kang has never shared his true self. No interviews, no coming out statements, no YouTube confessionals. And yet, somehow his every move says more than any celebrity would dare. That mystery? It's not a brand. It's a boundary. A boundary that says, I'll give you my work, I'll give you my art. But my identity? That's what I have to keep. And isn't that a kind of power? In 2024, he posted a video of himself dancing in a translucent embroidered top, spinning gracefully to a soft indie beat. The video didn't go viral, it wasn't promoted, but for those who saw meant a lot. It meant that the statement didn't need to be interpreted, that maybe a man could move gracefully, dress well, feel deeply, and not owe anyone an explanation. Do we always need someone to say it for it to be true? Or can we let people express themselves as they are, one photo at a time, one outfit at a time, one quiet moment at a time? Share your thoughts below. We read every comment, especially the ones that come from the heart. Because we're not here to label, we're here to listen. And in Kang's case, we're here to witness a new kind of masculinity, a strong masculinity that exudes quiet confidence and has many layers. Felix Lee didn't grow up surrounded by neon lights or camera flashes. He grew up in Sydney, Australia, speaking English with a warm accent, blending into a world where being Korean-Australian made him stand out. But from the start, Felix never seemed afraid to express himself. When he joined Stray Kids, he brought something the music industry had never seen before. A deep voice, sure, but also a bold, lithe, and groundbreaking image. In an industry obsessed with clear lines, cute or sexy, masculine or feminine, strong or soft, Felix doesn't just blur them, he walks right through them. In Stray Kids performances, he commands the stage with both power and grace. One moment he's rapping over the thumping bass line of Thunderous, the next, he's smiling with a warmth that makes fans feel like they're the only ones in the room. His moves are sharp, yet soft. His style is tailored, yet never rigid. Everything he does is in between, and that's where his magic comes in. Felix's artistry doesn't stop on stage, it starts there. In music videos like God's Menu, Backdoor, and S-Class, he dances between powerful beats and subtle moves. One moment, he's bursting with hip-hop energy. The next, he's spinning with grace and fluidity. It's not just a performance, it's a presence. He moves like someone who knows he doesn't have to choose sides. And his fashion? Boldly fluid. Waist-hugging blazers, sleeveless crop tops paired with eye makeup, understated but always intentional. In an industry that keeps idols in neat boxes, Felix opens the door just enough for something more authentic to emerge. Fans notice. Young people, especially queer and skeptical fans, see something in him they don't always see in K-pop. Freedom from stereotypes. Felix has never publicly declared who he is outside of his music, and maybe that's the point. He doesn't need a title to make a difference. Every time he steps out in bold style, every time he comforts his fans in difficult times, every time he posts a message of love and kindness, he's creating space for others to breathe more freely. And let's be honest, maybe what makes Felix so quietly strong is that he's never tried to represent anyone. He simply chooses joy. He chooses warmth. He chooses to show up. And in doing so, he creates space for people who have never felt seen. For K-pop fans who don't know where they fit in. For kids who come from multicultural backgrounds, speak more than one language, and feel like they don't belong. For people whose gender or identity isn't easy to articulate. Felix doesn't speak for them, but he reminds them that they're not alone. So here's our question to you. Do you think someone needs to come out to be a symbol of change? Or is being open without being labeled enough? Felix may not have a title, but his existence, his choices, and his quiet defiance shape the way a generation views identity, beauty, and self-expression. Let's discuss in the comments. No judgment, just a space where your voice counts, just like his. You can always spot him in a lineup, not just because he's handsome, because Yeonjun brings a distinct vibe, not forced, not fake, just perfect. When TXT debuted under Big Hit Music in 2019, fans were quick to notice how different he was. He didn't just perform, he delivered every beat. There was an elegance there, but also a hint of edge. You felt like you weren't just watching choreography, you were watching someone rewrite the rules of what an idol should look like. And perhaps more importantly, what an idol should look like. He wasn't flashy, he didn't need to be. You see it in the way he poses for music shows, in the way he poses for fashion shoots, and in the way his body language refuses to shrink to fit expectations. At a time when most male idols play it safe, Yeonjun takes risks and still manages to look natural. For Yeonjun, fashion isn't an afterthought, it's part of the story. In 2022, he became the first fourth-generation K-pop idol to walk at New York Fashion Week with Yeonjun. The moment went viral. Korean media hailed his global presence. Western fashion blogs called him the next style icon to look forward to. It wasn't a gimmick. It was a statement. Not with words, with shapes, textures, colors, things that said it all. From feathered coats to delicate cuts, Yeonjun plays with shapes and moods like a designer. And while many idols experiment in front of the camera, he carries that energy off stage. His airport outfits alone have their own fan pages. He's appeared in GQ Korea, Dazed, and Esquire, often sporting outfits that mix streetwear with softness, toughness with tenderness. His stylists call him fearless, and his fans, they call him free. There's something powerful about seeing someone express themselves so freely, especially in an industry that's still torn between innovation and tradition. Yet Yeonjun walks that line with a smile, like, why not both? Do you think artists today have more freedom to explore gender and fashion, or do the rules still quietly apply? We want to hear from you. It's not just a look, it's a language. What Yeonjun wears is just the beginning. It's how he moves, how he carries it, that turns style into something more, a form of language. Watch him perform Good Boy Gone Bad or 0x1 Ewell's Love Song. His vocals are powerful, but there's also a vulnerability in his expressions. He can go from playful to poetic in the blink of an eye. That duality, it's not marketing, it's who he is. In a 2023 interview, Yeonjun shared that he often works directly with stylists and the creative team because he wants his image to match the emotion of each concept. He doesn't just wear clothes, he conveys emotion. Sometimes, he says, I want to be strong. Other times I want to be gentle. It depends on the message. That level of engagement is rare, and it shows. But perhaps the most impressive thing about Yeonjun's journey is how many people have seen themselves in him, especially fans who never really fit into traditional molds. Through him, they found validation. Through his courage, they found courage. Have you ever looked at someone on stage and thought, they understand me? If so, who was it, and what did they show you about yourself? Honestly, when you think of 2 p.m., the first things that come to mind are probably six-pack abs, tracksuits, and rugged masculinity on stage. But then, there's Lee Junho. A little quieter, a little more graceful, a little more radiant. Right from the start, while the other members were rocking the stage with their manly choreography, Junho did something quiet and daring, mixing sexiness and elegance, adding just enough silk shirts and genderless poses to make you stop and wonder, is this still K-pop's beastly idol group? Or did someone bring in a French fashion house? His 2021 solo comeback album, Silent Practice, is more than just his vocals. It's a complete visual statement. Flowing see-through tops, subtle hand gestures. And oh, don't forget the 2022 Mama Awards where he showed up in a velvet, waist-hugging suit with lace detailing, a look that would have raised Prince's eyebrows. It was a statement that said, I know exactly who I am, and I'm not hiding it. The thing is, Junho never said this is the queer code, but fans noticed, so did international fashion magazines. Vogue Korea praised his bold blend of masculinity and elegance, while online queer communities pointed out how his music videos often explore emotional strength, softness, and vulnerability, all traits rarely portrayed in such a stylized and intentional way by male idols. Remember his role in the Red Sleeve? There was a subtle intimacy to the way he moved, spoke, connected. It wasn't just acting, it was presence. That's what made Junho different. He didn't try to fit into a mold, he reshaped the mold around himself. And honestly, isn't that the most powerful form of rebellion? So what do you think? Can fashion be political when it dares to be beautiful against expectations? Can a silk blouse be more powerful than a press release? And when an idol like Junho struggles with gender norms and industry pressures, is he simply dressing well? Or is he telling us a deeper story? Junho doesn't explain himself, and maybe he doesn't need to. In a world where anything is possible, he chooses to be deliberately mysterious. He chooses to say more with a stare than a press release. And maybe that's the point. Whether he's performing with 2 p.m. or singing to the camera in a solo ballad, he lets his beauty live without apology. And that's an act of quiet courage in itself. And now we want to hear from you. Have you ever seen an artist express themselves so boldly without saying a word? Do we need labels? Or just attention? Leave your thoughts in the comments. We read every comment, especially the unexpected, challenging, and honest ones. Together, let's build a space where we can celebrate not just who people are, but how they choose to shine. These 10 stars remind us that self-expression isn't a trend, it's a power. In every outfit, every move, they challenge norms and invite us to see beauty without borders. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out more stories on our channel. And yes, we welcome all comments, even from the toughest critics. Your voice matters here. See you in the next video. In the country crowned the social media capital of the world, where every scroll shapes culture and every post starts a conversation, what happens when queer identity steps into the spotlight unapologetically? This isn't just about likes, it's about legacy. Because here, a single photo can start a movement. A caption can change lives. And one bold Filipino celebrity, once hidden in symmetry, decided to post his truth and never look back. Meet Raymond Gutierrez. In a world that prizes symmetry, in faces, in families, and fame, Raymond Gutierrez was born a role model. A twin, a legacy name, and a seemingly preordained path. But instead of following the script, Raymond flipped it. He didn't just break the mold, he melted it down and created something entirely his own. For years, he lived on the glossy pages of magazines, the flashing lights of talk shows, and the curated glamour of Filipino celebrity culture. He was handsome, he was articulate. He was a regular host of red carpet events and product launches. But behind the tailored suits and perfect lighting, there was something people didn't see, because he wasn't ready to show it. Not yet. Raymond came out in 2021, not through scandal or tabloid leaks, but with purpose and grace. I am proud to be a member of the LGBTQ+ community, he declared in an extraordinary interview. His voice calm but firm, the kind of firmness that only emerges after years of silence. In that moment, a country raised on traditional masculinity met a version of masculinity it had never been taught to love, sexy, emotional, and fiercely self-assertive. And Raymond, he didn't ask for permission to be that man. He simply was. But his queerness wasn't showy. It was styled, subtle, artful. On Instagram, he was the picture of bold softness, the mesh tops, the brows, the jawline shaped with confidence. He shared photos with his boyfriend, fitness trainer Robert William, not as a statement, but as a fact. A relationship lived to the fullest, not for show, but for who you are. When you're true to yourself, he once wrote, you attract everything to you. The post wasn't just a caption. It was a love letter to all the closeted teens out there, surfing the web all night, praying that one day they could do the same. What makes Raymond stand out isn't just the coming out, it's the consequences. He hasn't retreated. He's opened up. He's spoken out on podcasts, hosted pride events, joined conversations about body image, masculinity, and queer identity in the Philippines. He's turned the spotlight on issues that people don't want to look at, because that's what real presence is. Not just being seen, but making others feel seen. Today, Raymond's radiance comes from within, from the peace of not hiding, from the power of being authentic. And in a region that still struggles to define who deserves to be seen, he's proof that queer success isn't a contradiction, it's a celebration. Drop a note if Raymond Gutierrez reminds you that your truth doesn't have to be shouted to shine. Sometimes it just needs to be expressed, unapologetically, beautifully, and ultimately, freeingly. Marky Stroem is more than just a pretty face on Philippine television. He is a handsome gay man who brings artistry, edginess, and authenticity to an industry that often prefers silence over truth. From the moment he stepped onto the Filipinas Got Talent stage, Marky has been a quiet force. A man with a velvet voice and a look that makes cameras linger. But what really sets him apart isn't just talent, it's courage. In an entertainment world that rarely accepts flexibility, Marky didn't play it safe, he lived his truth. After years of speculation, Marky came out, not through a dramatic press conference or a viral coming out post, but through his art. He took on roles that others were afraid to play. In the controversial film Unlocked, he plays a gay man grappling with isolation and desire during the pandemic. The scenes are raw, vulnerable, and sexy. And yes, he has faced backlash, but his answer is simple. I'm an artist. I tell meaningful stories. Whether he's strutting the red carpet in a tailored suit or performing at jazz clubs with a calm gaze, Marky exudes a free-spirited gay masculinity. He's not trying to fit into any mold. He's rewriting all the rules. Behind the scenes, Marky is also a fierce advocate for mental health and queer visibility. He regularly uses his platform to speak out about LGBTQ discrimination and youth, and what it means to live fully and freely. People say I'm brave, he shared in an interview, but I'm just tired of hiding, and if my story helps others stop hiding, then I've done my job. His social media is a beautiful mix of steamy photos, nostalgic jazz sessions, and unabashed self-love. One viral post shows him shirtless, lounging on a velvet sofa with the caption, "Comfort is gay, power is gay, me too." As expected, the internet briefly crashed. But Marky's influence goes beyond the aspirational traps and applause. He represents a generation of gay Filipino men who are no longer asking for permission. They're just living. This year, he'll be starring in a film centered on the LGBT community. This time, he'll delve into themes of coming of age, legacy, and chosen family. And if his past work is any indication, it will once again challenge hearts, minds, and even the norms of mainstream media. Because Marky Stroem doesn't just play a role. He embodies resilience, grace, and a rare quiet confidence that says, yes, I am here, and I am exactly who I am meant to be. Leave a comment if his story makes you feel more seen, more proud, or just a little more ready to own who you are. Paulo Pangilinan didn't need a blockbuster, a viral scandal, or a public performance to become a gay icon in the Philippines. Just a role, quiet, strong, and unabashedly gentle, and the courage to live fully, both on screen and off. He rose to fame with the BL phenomenon Gaya sa Pelikula, in which he played Carl, an architecture student who slowly falls in love with his male roommate. But what made the film unforgettable wasn't just the plot. It was the quiet magic of ordinary life. No tragic deaths, no caricatures, just gentle, slow-burning love encapsulated in Filipino culture, in the awkward glances, the silent moments, and the painful beauty of coming out. For millions of gay Filipinos watching from behind closed doors, Carl was more than a character. He was them. And Paulo? He wasn't just playing a role. He became the role model they didn't know they needed. What no one expected was that Paulo would be just as open in real life. As one of the few openly gay actors in Filipino showbiz, he entered the industry without editing, without ambiguity, and without fear. No PR stunts, no ambiguous labels, just Paulo. In interviews, he's never tried to dodge the topic. Instead, he speaks with a calm confidence that feels both refreshing and radical. In a region where queer stars are still often told to tone it down. Presence doesn't always have to be shouting, he once said. Sometimes it's just standing still and refusing to hide. And that's exactly what sets him apart. He doesn't push, he doesn't pose, he simply exists, with grace, conviction, and a strength that whispers louder than any headline. And did we mention he's a licensed physician? Yes, the man who melts hearts on screen is also saving lives. Brains and beauty. He's used his unique position to champion LGBTQ+ rights, mental health, and HIV awareness in the Philippines, all with the same sincerity he brings to every role. His fashion sense? A natural. You'll find him in flowy, gender-neutral pieces, oversized shirts, or the occasional see-through outfit. In a Pride editorial last year, he wore a sheer Tagalog barong embroidered with the words "Live Strong," and fans went wild. But it wasn't just the outfit, it was the intention. Every appearance, every photo, every choice is a quiet rebellion wrapped in elegance. And perhaps that is Paulo's greatest strength. He has very little to prove, and he simply is himself. While the world still demands that gay people explain themselves, he refuses to listen to that question. He just shows up, whole, free, light. And that lightness, it's not weakness, it's resistance. In 2025, he's embarked on new independent projects, films that focus on gay identity in the Filipino diaspora. No mainstream gloss, no corporate filter, just authentic stories. And his fans, they're ready. Because Paulo Pangilinan reminds us of something rare in queer storytelling. Silence can be brave, tenderness can be powerful, and beauty doesn't have to be shouted to be seen. You'll never forget the first time you saw Sinon Loresca. He didn't just strut, he strode in sky-high heels, with a smile as bright as a lion, wearing only one outfit, and maybe a mesh tank top that made the world turn its heads. And spoiler, they didn't. Sinon didn't want the crown. He earned it with every confident stride he took through the chaotic streets of Manila and the digital world. Dubbed King of the Runway, Sinon shot to global fame after a video of him striding, yes, just striding in stilettos exploded on the internet like wildfire. But it wasn't just the striding, it was the why. A gay man. With muscles. In heels, in public. Taking up space the world told him he couldn't take. It was wild. It was fierce. It was freedom in motion. Born in Bacolod, raised in poverty, Sinon's life wasn't easy. He knew hunger. He knew judgment. He knew what it was like to be told he was too much, too loud, too feminine, too real. But instead of shrinking, he got louder, taller, brighter. And then he became famous. But viral fame wasn't his goal. It was presence. He became powerful, not just as a gay man, but as a power. And not in the polished, photoshopped kind the media favors. Sinon sweated. And that's what made him revolutionary. While others tiptoe, he stomps. While some whisper, he roars. On Instagram, you'll find him dancing shirtless in 6-inch heels, lifting weights in a tutu, blowing kisses under a disco ball in broad daylight. And guess what? He dares you to judge him. But behind the glitz is resilience. Sinon has been open about growing up poor, battling body image discrimination, and learning to love himself in a world that didn't teach him that. He's been bullied, teased, ridiculed, both online and in person. And yet he's still here, still walking, still winning, still shining. He once said, "I walk for everyone who's ever been told to sit down." And that's exactly what he does. Every step, every turn, every weird and wonderful turn on the sidewalk becomes a form of protest. And not just for himself, for all the queer kids out there. Sinon isn't trying to be relatable. He's trying to be unforgettable. And maybe that's the kind of courage we all need a little more of. The kind of courage that doesn't ask, "Is this too much?" but instead asks, "Why can't we do more?" In recent years, Sinon has been making new content that combines fitness, fashion, and queer power. He's designing heels, he's hosting dance classes, he's speaking at pride events. And through it all, he's reminding people that beauty doesn't need permission, it just needs space. So the next time you see someone walking around confidently like they own the world, maybe they do. And who knows, just maybe, they learned something from Sinon. Which power symbol of the day inspired you the most? Rebel, romantic, or royal in heels? Leave a comment. If you've been following the rise of the BL genre in the Philippines, you've seen a shift. Not just in the way the stories are told, but also in who's telling them. And Kokoy de Santos? He's one of the brightest stars in this new gay wave. Kokoy suddenly came to public attention through his breakout roles in Game Boys 2 and Love at the End of the World, two gay series that not only made waves in the country, but also spread to fans across Asia and beyond. But it's not just the roles that have caught our attention. It's the way Kokoy plays them, so natural, bold, and emotional. Audiences were immediately drawn to his soft eyes, his mischievous smile, and the way he made his romantic lines feel poignant and relatable. He didn't act like he was playing gay. He was simply being himself. And in a media landscape where gay roles are often overplayed or ridiculed, Kokoy's performance was a breath of fresh air. In interviews, Kokoy has been open about his support for the LGBTQ+ community, including his deep respect for fans who support BL stories. While he has never come out, his support has always been genuine and powerful. "Love is love," he once said. "I'm honored to tell these stories, and I know how important they are." Social media loves him for his versatility. One minute, he's on full-on glam, with sheer fabrics, pearls, soft lighting. The next, he's casually dressed, unadorned, laughing in the car with his co-stars. Kokoy knows how to transition from boy next door to undeniable star with ease. And that's part of the magic. He's making headlines again after being cast in a new gay-centric series, set to debut on the global streaming platform The Role, where he plays a bisexual musician navigating love, fame, and gender identity. Early trailers show steamy moments, emotional monologues, and yes, Kokoy himself sings. Fans are already going crazy for him. But behind the camera, Kokoy is thoughtful, down-to-earth, and deeply aware of the cultural impact of his work. He shares how portraying queer love has changed the way he views masculinity, emotions, and storytelling in general. "We're not just acting," he said in an interview. "We're breaking down stereotypes that have been around for years." Kokoy is also one of a growing number of actors in the Philippines who are breaking the notion that queer stories are niche. His work is proof that these stories can be mainstream, romantic, dramatic, and yes, sexy, and still incredibly respectful. Because Kokoy de Santos is helping to shape a future where openness, tenderness, and visibility are not just accepted, they're celebrated. Leave 3 comments if popularity has convinced you that gay love stories deserve attention. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more important voices. BJ Pascual never intended to be a star in front of the camera, but sometimes, when your truth is clear enough, there's no hiding it. He started his career as one of the most sought-after fashion photographers in the Philippines. You've seen his work everywhere. From epic photo shoots to magazine launches, from red carpet moments to high-end fashion portraits, his images are always unique. Bold, sophisticated, radiant, BJ has a way of making his subjects not only beautiful, but iconic. But somewhere along the way, BJ's story has become just as compelling as the stories he captures through his lens. He came out as gay at a time when few men in Philippine fashion or media were out. And instead of hiding behind the scenes, BJ came out. He wasn't just a creative, he was a public gay man. One who was confident in his own skin and even more confident in his style. What makes BJ Pascual stand out isn't just the fact that he's gay. It's how he's turned that identity into his superpower. From candid interviews to genderless fashion, BJ lives up to his truth with pride and authenticity. On Instagram, his personal page is a sophisticated blend of elegance and individuality. Think all-black crop tops, pearls on bare skin, genderless suits with smoky eyeliner. It's not just fashion, it's a statement. And what's that message? I won't shrink to fit your comfort. He also uses his platform to advocate for LGBTQ+ visibility, body positivity, and mental health. One of his most powerful posts? A bare-faced selfie with the caption, "This is me. No filter, no fear." It went viral for all the right reasons. In 2021, BJ made headlines again, this time not for a photo shoot, but for love. He went public with his relationship with fitness trainer Marky Stroem. It wasn't a promotional moment, it was something more tender. 2 men holding hands, smiling in the sun. It wasn't just sweet, it was truly special. We're here. We love each other. We're not hiding. I spent years hiding behind the scenes because I didn't think I deserved to be in the spotlight, he later shared in an interview. Now I know better. Gay joy deserves to be seen. Since then, BJ has spoken at Pride panels, LGBTQ+ forums, and creative conferences, sharing his story not just as a photographer, but as a voice for LGBTQ+ visibility. His message has always been clear. Be present, be proud, be strong if you want to be, but most of all, be yourself. Today, he's more than just a photographer. He's a style icon, an icon of strength, a quirky, unconventional, unyielding soul. Because BJ Pascual didn't just photograph the stars, he became one of them. Vote number 6, if BJ's intelligence makes you feel less scared. When you first meet Quizon on screen or online, it's hard not to smile. He has a natural charm, a youthful smile, a warm and gentle voice, a kind of charisma that is both safe and attractive. But don't let his sweet exterior fool you. Quizon is one of the strongest voices representing young, gay energy in the Philippines today. Sky first came to national attention when he participated in Pinoy Big Brother, where he was introduced as the pillar of the Nungpanga family. From the start, his gentle yet confident appearance caught the eye. But it was his authenticity, emotional openness, intelligence, and empathy that kept viewers coming back. He wasn't just there to win, he was there to connect. What fans didn't expect was how gracefully and honestly Sky embraced his homosexuality in public life after leaving PBB. While many of his male housemates faded away after the reality show, Sky used his platform to delve deeper into hosting, vlogging, and eventually advocacy. On social media, he began sharing his thoughts on gender expression, mental health, body confidence, and LGBTQ+ rights in a way that was rare for male celebrities in the Philippines. Despite not explicitly labeling, Sky was clear in his message. I believe in unconditional love. I believe in freedom. And I believe that everyone deserves to be themselves without fear. It's this quiet courage that has made Sky Quizon a prominent figure in the Filipino gay media. He doesn't always wave the rainbow flag the loudest, but his presence alone, calm and consistent, is revolutionary in a culture where toxic masculinity still reigns supreme. And yes, he's a real man too. Sky has become a low-key fashion icon in the making. On the red carpet, he pairs soft pastels with clean cuts. On Instagram, he's always dressed in clean, crop tops, high-waisted pants, and the occasional subtle glam look. It's not flashy, but it's all intentional. It's masculinity redefined, and his fans are obsessed. He went viral again after posting a video with the caption, "Wear what you want, say what you feel, love who you love." The video shows him dancing freely in an oversized shirt and pearls, laughing with friends on a rooftop. The comments are filled with comments like, "Thank you for being yourself." He proves that gay pride doesn't always have to be loud to be felt. Because in every quiet smile, every flowing outfit, every post about honesty and self-worth, Sky reminds us that being true to ourselves can be a quiet rebellion. And a beautiful rebellion. Give me points if Sky's courage makes you feel the same way. From actors and artists to photographers and digital icons, these stars are proving that the LGBTQ+ presence in the Philippines is stronger, bolder, and more beautiful than ever. Their stories are about more than just fame. They also spoke about truth, courage, and the power of being seen for who you are. In a world that often tells LGBTQ+ people to shrink, they chose to step out, to take up space, to dance in pearls, to speak from the heart, to love wholeheartedly, and remind us all that pride is more than a parade. It's a daily decision to be bold. So, which story touched you the most today? Who made you feel more proud to be your authentic self? Leave their number in the comments. We read them all. And let us know where you're watching from, because the more we celebrate LGBTQ+ icons in the Philippines, the more space we create for the next generation to shine. Stay strong, stay proud, and we'll see you again in the next episode of Rainbow Vibes. The face looks familiar, and it does. Paulo Ballesteros has probably appeared on your screen in all sorts of guises, from Beyoncé to Mariah, from Kim Kardashian to Katy Perry. But here's the catch, it's not a drag show. It's just Paulo, his paintbrush, his talent, and a mirror. And with each transformation, he's more than just a face. He challenges everything you thought you knew about masculinity, beauty, and performance. Born into a culture where gay identity is still hidden behind polite whispers and a masculine facade, Paulo decided he wasn't going to play the game. He was going to redesign the rules. While most actors champion the straight male lead, he embraced the opposite, and more. His drag character, Lola, isn't a gimmick. She's a mirror, a question, a red-lipped revolution. Long before RuPaul's Drag Race became a global phenomenon, Paulo was appearing on Philippine lunchtime television. Yes, on Eat Bulaga, that most traditional of family variety shows. And there he was, cheekbones painted, heels shoved in, gender swapped to submission, right in front of his lunchtime aunties and uncles, and people loved it. His 2016 film Die Beautiful wasn't just a box office hit, it was a cultural earthquake. Paulo plays a transgender woman who wishes to be buried as a different celebrity every day after she dies. Sound melodramatic? Yes, but it's also heartbreakingly honest. The film not only won him the Best Actor award at the Tokyo International Film Festival, it also sparked long-delayed conversations about transgender identity, familial rejection, and the dignity of gay people after death. And Paulo? There he was in his evening gown, holding that award like a trophy. But behind the wig and lashes was a man quietly courageous in a different way. Paulo didn't like labels. He never came out on the rooftops about. But he didn't hide it either. He expressed it. Through his art, his choices, his lack of restraint. "I don't explain myself," he once said. "I just express myself." And maybe that was enough. Online, Paulo's personal page is a whirlwind of sexiness and strength. Today, he's barefaced in joggers. The next day, he's Lady Gaga reborn. Each post is a reminder that gender is fluid, drag is resistance, and confidence is a superpower. He's not trying to fit in. He's trying to stand out and invites you to do the same. So here's the question. Paulo Ballesteros can turn a midday show into a runway for the wonders of the LGBT community. So what's stopping the rest of us from expressing ourselves in the boldest ways? Comment below. Who's your favorite chameleon of authenticity and glamour? And when you're ready, try that color you've always been afraid to wear. Paulo will do it. First of all, yes, Prince is his real name. And no, he wasn't born into royalty, unless you count being crowned one of the most handsome men in Philippine showbiz as a birthright. With his soulful eyes, chiseled abs, and a smile that could charm aunties on a Sunday mass schedule, Prince Stefan is every casting director's dream. But in a world where mat-time idol is often synonymous with straight by default, Prince decided to flip the script. He didn't come out of the closet in glitter and confetti. No viral announcement, no Netflix documentary. Just a quiet confirmation in 2016 that caused a stir simply because no one expected it from someone who looks like him. And that's exactly why it matters. For the first time, a man with a muscular body, a chiseled jawline, and a legion of devoted female fans is saying, "Yeah, I'm gay." And still sexy, by the way. Before coming out, Prince Stefan had made a name for himself in soap operas, indie films, and as one of GMA's heartthrobs. He could cry on demand, kiss on camera, and take his shirt off like it was a public service. He played the classic Filipino love interest, intense, melancholy, and definitely a good fit for his leading lady. And he did it so convincingly that no one questioned it. That's what made his story so compelling. Not because he was hiding it, it was because no one saw it coming. Maybe they just didn't care. But here's the thing. After coming out, Prince didn't turn to serious gay roles or become a public figure for social causes. No, he just kept going. He occasionally did projects, posted poetically about his thirst for love, and showed the world that being queer doesn't always come with a clear purpose. Sometimes it just happens. He once joked in an interview that the hardest part about being gay in showbiz was pretending to fall for the leading ladies when the one he really liked was the sound guy. That kind of relatable humor was Prince's secret weapon. He didn't have to be the loudest, he didn't have to be the most radical. He just had to be himself, which, it turns out, was enough to make people stop, smile, and rethink their assumptions. Online, he's both mysterious and carefree. One moment he posts moody black and white selfies with Lana Del Rey lyrics. Another moment, he's shirtless in a rice field for no apparent reason. It's that vibe. Naturally seductive, emotionally elusive, and undeniably queer in a way that doesn't require permission or explanation. Prince Stefan isn't here to be your hero. He's here because the truth tastes better than fear. And if that truth happens to be wearing linen pants and glowing in natural light, well, we're not complaining. Nico Santos didn't enter Hollywood with a big name, a six-pack, or an A-list agent. He arrived in America from the Philippines at age 16, barely speaking English, living in a closet, awkward, and working in a dressing room at Ross. That's right, before the red carpet, before the Emmys, before the designer tuxedos, he was just the new kid trying to go unnoticed. But Nico had a secret weapon. He was funny. Not just classy clown funny, but sharp, observant, and painfully timely. And eventually it became clear he wasn't meant to be a closet room guy. He was born to own the stage. But let's rewind. Growing up in a conservative Filipino family was a tough life. Add immigration, loss of identity, and the pressure to fit in, and you have a cocktail of anxiety that most people wallow in. Nico? He turned it into material. pain into humor, trauma into timing. Every little insult, every awkward silence at the dinner table, every "you don't look gay" or "you don't act Asian," he collected it all like receipts. And one day, he turned those receipts into a script. And Hollywood finally listened. Nico's breakout role was Mateo, the hilariously straightforward character in Superstore. A character who, in lesser hands, might have been a joke. But for Nico, Mateo became a mirror for immigrants, for gay people, for anyone who has ever felt like they had to switch languages just to get through the day. He played the character boldly, edgily, and with humanity. And fans around the world saw something they rarely see on primetime television. A gay Asian man who wasn't dying, crying, or delivering food. He was just existing, loud, gorgeous, undeniably himself. Nico was fearless in real life too. He's been open about being an illegal immigrant as a teenager, about how his mother didn't initially fully accept his sexuality, and about losing his fiancée to COVID-19 just days before the 2020 Emmy Awards. In that heartbreaking public moment, he stood on stage not with showmanship, but with courage. He didn't just represent diversity. He embodied resilience. But don't mistake his vulnerability for weakness. Nico is one of those rare artists who can make you laugh, cry, and get choked up all at once. Whether he's criticizing racism in the film industry or looking impeccably red carpet ready in a scarlet velvet gown, he's always struck the right balance between glamour and power. And unlike so many, he's not trying to fit into Hollywood. He's shaping it. Today, Nico is a beacon for gay Asian men who've silenced themselves, for immigrants who've been told they'll never belong, for anyone who's ever thought that being too different means being alone. Nico proves that being different isn't a burden, it's how you walk in. So let us ask you this. Who surprised you the most today? Who made you feel like your story really matters? Leave their phone numbers in the comments and don't forget to let us know where you're watching from. Because the more we celebrate Filipino queer icons like Nico Santos, the more the next generation will be empowered to speak up. Thank you for sticking with us. You made it all the way to the end. And trust us, it means a lot. These stories are bold, raw, but what's next? Even more memorable. So if you're ready for what's next, hit subscribe, leave a comment, and stay tuned, because Rainbow Vibes just keeps getting better. Thanks for watching. They wear skirts, they paint their nails, and they've got more followers than your favorite straight boy band. These 10 LGBTQ+ TikTok stars from Asia aren't here to explain themselves. They're here to steal the spotlight. They've been called too much, too soft, too weird. But in 2025, too much is exactly what the world needs. You think TikTok is all dance trends? Think again. This is identity. This is defiance. This is real. Let's meet the rule breakers who turn being queer into a super. She wasn't born to blend in. She was born to break through. Long before the world knew the name Plastique Tiara, a young Vietnamese boy named Duc Trang Nguyen stood in front of a mirror in Texas, lip-syncing to pop divas and dreaming of something bigger than the life he was told to live. While others saw just another immigrant kid, Duc saw something different. Something fierce, fabulous, and full of fire. That mirror became his first stage, and in time, the world would become his runway. With every wig, every contour, and every strut, he wasn't hiding. He was finally becoming. And when RuPaul's Drag Race came calling, Plastique didn't just show up, she arrived. Stunning the judges with beauty, grace, and a silent kind of power, she proved you don't need to shout to own the spotlight. But it wasn't just about glamour, it was about grit. Rising from humble beginnings in Saigon to becoming the most followed drag queen on TikTok, with over 13 million fans, Plastique turned pain into power. Her performances weren't just for fun, they were healing. For every queer Asian kid who felt invisible, she became a symbol that said, "You belong. You are enough." Through her comedy, cosplay, and jaw-dropping looks, she bridged cultures, blending her Vietnamese heritage with Western drag artistry in a way that hadn't been seen before. She wasn't just serving face, she was serving hope. In a digital world full of noise, Plastique carved a space for quiet strength and queer joy to shine through. And in doing so, she didn't just become famous, she became necessary. Now, she walks in stilettos but stands for something bigger. To her fans, she's not just a performer, she's a revolution draped in rhinestones. A reminder that identity isn't binary, and beauty has no borders. From slaying on the runway to slaying stigma, Plastique Tiara continues to evolve. Always elegant, always unapologetic. And just as her lashes reach new heights, so does her influence. She opened doors and then turned around to hold them open for others. One of those others? A name that blends beauty, brains, and boldness from a different corner of Asia. Let's meet the man redefining masculinity across China and beyond, Edison Fan. Edison Fan. He wasn't born into fame, he built it. One photo, one post, one boundary-pushing moment at a time. Edison Fan isn't just a model, he's a movement, a quiet storm that reshaped Asia's image of masculinity. With sculpted features, a body built like art, and a stare that could melt glass, Edison didn't just show up on screens, he seduced them. From New Zealand to China, his rise was far from conventional. Trained as a pharmacist, Edison was expected to follow the rules, to live quietly and blend in. But what happens when your truth is too bold to hide behind a lab coat? Edison made a decision. He wouldn't dim himself for anyone's comfort. His breakthrough came not from mainstream media, but from the internet, a place where he could shape his own narrative. Shirtless selfies turned into subtle statements. Every flex, every smirk on screen wasn't just thirst trap material, it was a rebellion against stereotypes, against shame, against the silence that so many queer men in Asia are forced to endure. Edison Fan didn't scream his sexuality, he lived it out loud with elegance and control. On Weibo, TikTok, and Instagram, he blurred the lines between influencer, artist, and activist. He's never needed to label himself. His presence is the message. Queer beauty exists. Asian masculinity is powerful. And you don't need permission to own either. But behind the sculpted abs and sunlit selfies, there's something even deeper. Vulnerability. Edison has spoken about body dysmorphia, the pressures of beauty, and the fear of being too much for Asian audiences. And yet, he keeps showing up. For the boys who thought they had to shrink, for the men who didn't believe they could be both soft and strong, for the next generation of queer creators who deserve to be seen as they are. In 2025, Edison Fan isn't just a TikTok thirst trap. He's proof that visibility, done on your own terms, can be revolutionary. And if you think Edison was bold, wait until you meet the next name on our list. A fierce icon who broke out of Korea with paint, passion, and unapologetic pride. Let's talk about Bain, the artist who made being loud and proud not just acceptable, but irresistible. Bain? They called him unpredictable, unfiltered, but maybe that's exactly what K-pop needed. Bain, born Song Jae-young, didn't follow the blueprint of a typical Korean idol. He ripped it apart, with eyeliner sharper than any blade, a gaze that melted camera lenses, and stage moves that blurred the lines between masculine and feminine. Bain rose not just as a singer, but as a symbol. In an industry famous for conformity and control, Bain's refusal to tame his fire made him both a controversy magnet and a quiet revolution. Every flick of his wrist, every daring outfit, every wink at the camera, a subtle rebellion. A coded love letter to every kid in Seoul who grew up feeling different and afraid to say it out loud. Long before he had millions of views on TikTok and fan edits flooding every corner of the internet, Bain was a trainee fighting to be heard. He danced like he had something to prove, because he did. In a world that wanted him in a box, he kicked his way out with rhythm, attitude, and a stubborn sense of self. Debuting with Just Be in 2021, Bain quickly caught attention for more than just his vocals. His gender-bending fashion, his flirtatious presence online, his unapologetically androgynous beauty, it wasn't just K-pop fans who noticed. LGBTQ+ teens across Asia started reposting his clips, calling him one of us. And while Bain has never put a label on himself, his silence only adds fuel to the fire. It makes his every move a little more iconic. Because sometimes silence speaks louder than declarations. And Bane's presence on TikTok, sultry, bold, and ever-evolving, is a reminder that queerness doesn't always come with a name tag. It comes with power, with flair, with the quiet courage to just be. Whether he's lip-syncing in fishnet or walking through Seoul in an oversized blazer and painted nails, Bane doesn't ask for permission. He exists, loudly, gracefully, defiantly. And for a new generation of queer fans in Asia, that's more than enough. But if you thought Bane was bold, wait until you meet our next star. Yanni Makut. He didn't arrive with fireworks. He arrived like a storm you didn't see coming, quiet, steady, and suddenly everywhere. Yanni Makut may not be the loudest voice on TikTok, but he doesn't have to be. His presence, that mix of delicate visuals, boyish charm, and unapologetically feminine energy, speaks louder than any shout ever could. Born in the Philippines, Yanni wasn't raised to seek attention. In fact, his earliest videos were almost whispered, soft dances, fleeting glances, intimate lighting, and captions that felt like secrets. But there was power in that softness. In a space where most creators scream for clout, Yanni created a sanctuary, a mood, a vibe, a subtle rebellion against toxic masculinity. His identity? Fluid, feminine, fierce. And his message? You don't need to conform to be captivating. As his following grew, so did the risks. Yanni began incorporating bolder fashion, flirtier captions, and stories that hinted at struggles beneath the aesthetics. Trolls came for him, brands ghosted him, but Yanni didn't break, he bloomed. For many in Southeast Asia, he became a symbol, proof that you can be queer, soft, and still take up space. Whether he's dancing in a crop top or dropping truths about internalized shame, Yanni doesn't just entertain, he empowers. Behind the lashes and lace is a quiet fighter, one who reminds us that even softness can be revolutionary. But Yanni's impact doesn't end with him, because just when you think you've seen it all, a new firecracker enters the room. Louder, bolder, and impossible to ignore. Ready to meet the wildest pink-haired twink to ever break the algorithm? Let's talk about Eun-woo. Eun-woo. He wasn't loud, he wasn't flashy, but when Eun-woo walked into a frame, you looked, and you didn't look away. In a TikTok world full of chaos and clout chasers, Ab stood out by doing the opposite. Quiet confidence, soft charm, a wink of rebellion in every move. Born and raised in South Korea, he never quite fit the traditional mold. But maybe that's exactly what made him magnetic. With each post, Abe blurred lines between gender, genre, and expectation. His makeup tutorials weren't just about color, they were about courage. His fashion wasn't about trends, it was about truth. Whether in a pink satin crop top or a sharp-shouldered blazer, Abe never asked for approval. He simply existed, beautifully, and in doing so, gave others the permission to do the same. Abe rose to fame not with shock, but with style. His androgynous looks, feathered brows, and hauntingly soft features made him a muse for a new generation of beauty. In a landscape still learning how to embrace queerness, he didn't shout his identity, he lived it, frame by frame. Every tutorial, every slow-mo lip sync, every behind-the-scenes laugh with friends, it all told a bigger story, that authenticity doesn't have to scream to be powerful. Abe made being gentle look revolutionary. And that's the thing, it was. Because in conservative circles, softness in men isn't seen as strength. But Abe, he turned that narrative on its head and made millions rethink what masculinity can look like when it's dipped in vulnerability. He's more than a trend, he's a quiet revolution. And just when you think you've figured him out, Eun reminds you, identity isn't static, and beauty doesn't ask permission. And now, from soft glam to full drag glory, let's meet a queen who's rewriting the rules of Asian queer representation, one rhinestone at a time, Nymphia Wind. Nymphia Wind. He didn't just walk into the drag race stage, he floated in, like a cloudburst of color, chaos, and culture. And when the wind settled, a new icon had emerged. His name is Nymphia Wind, and honey, he's the eye of the storm. Born as Liu Tsao in Taiwan, this soft-spoken artist never imagined he'd one day become the most talked-about name in drag. As a child, Leo was shy, more interested in doodling on the margins of textbooks than standing in the spotlight. But art, fashion, and a fascination with performance slowly pushed him toward the extraordinary. After moving to the United States to study, Leo's world cracked open. Drag wasn't just a hobby, it was a lifeline. He became Nymphia Wind, a whirlwind of surreal visuals, banana yellow glam, and high-concept runway looks that made even seasoned queens do a double take. On season 16 of RuPaul's Drag Race, Nymphia didn't just compete, she redefined the game. Where others brought beauty, she brought vision. Where others gave drama, she gave depth. Every look was a love letter to her culture, from Taiwanese street food to traditional puppetry to abstract art inspired by Yayoi Kusama. And behind the exaggerated lashes and whimsical wigs, a man who understood the power of representation. When Nymphia took the crown, she made her story, becoming the first queen from East Asia to win a mainline drag race season. For every Asian kid who felt too weird or too loud, she became proof that the wind can shift in your favor. But the story doesn't end with a crown. For Leo, for Nymphia, this is just the beginning. He's now a global icon, using his platform to elevate Asian queer voices, speak against racism in the LGBTQ+ community, and challenge Western drag norms with unapologetic creativity. Whether he's strutting down a Paris runway or live streaming from Taipei in full banana regalia, one thing is clear. Nymphia Wind isn't here to blend in. He's here to shake things up and leave glitter in every gust. Brian Boy. He didn't walk into fashion. He stormed it in heels with a blog and no apologies. In the early 2000s, while most fashion lovers waited for Vogue to tell them what to wear, Brian Boy was already setting trends from his childhood bedroom in Manila. With nothing but a laptop, a sharp wit, and an eye for drama, he became one of the internet's first true fashion influencers. His blog wasn't just commentary, it was confession, performance, rebellion. He mixed couture with camp, runway with realness, and somehow made Louis Vuitton look right at home next to palm trees and plastic chairs. People laughed. Then they followed. And just like that, the boy who once got bullied for being too much became a global icon for being exactly that. But Brian Boy didn't just change the internet. He helped change fashion itself. When front rows were still ruled by gatekeepers in gray suits, he crashed the party in Technicolor. Marc Jacobs named a handbag after him. Anna Wintour took notice. And suddenly, the industry that once ignored outsiders was buzzing about a queer Filipino blogger who didn't care about rules. What made Brian Boy powerful wasn't just style, it was voice. He made it okay to be loud, to be weird, to be unapologetically fabulous in an industry that often prized silence and sameness. Behind the dramatic outfits and biting captions was a deeper message. That visibility is power, and that fashion should be for everyone, not just the elite few. Today, Brian Boy is more than an influencer. He's a legend still evolving. From TikTok commentary to his seat as a judge on Next in Fashion, his voice now shapes the very future of the runway. He's become the bridge between old-school fashion houses and Gen Z chaos. Always fabulous, always one tweet away from viral. But at his core, Brian Boy remains the same, a kid with big dreams and a bigger voice, using fashion to tell the world exactly who he is. His journey is proof that authenticity isn't a trend, it's a revolution. Madsai. What if the classic high school narrative was told through the lens of a queer Asian Latinx teen? Madsai isn't just asking the question, he's living the answer. Born Jonathan Andrew Tsai on July 13, 2001 in Huntington Beach, California, Madsai is a Taiwanese-Peruvian singer-songwriter who has captivated Gen Z audiences with his authentic storytelling and catchy melodies. His musical journey began at 13, crafting songs that delved into themes of identity, mental health, and self-discovery. While attending UCLA, majoring in music industry and English, Tsai's breakout came during the COVID-19 pandemic when he shared his music on TikTok under the handle @MadsDParty. His debut single, Boy Bye, a candid exploration of bisexuality, resonated deeply, amassing over 19 million streams on Spotify. This track, which he used to come out to his mother, showcased his ability to blend humor with heartfelt emotion, setting the tone for his subsequent works. Psy's discography is a testament to his commitment to redefining the coming-of-age narrative. Songs like Stacy's Brother and In My Head subvert traditional tropes, presenting queer perspectives in mainstream pop. His 2024 EP, Teenage Nightmare, delves into the complexities of adolescence, touching on trauma, identity, and the disillusionment of youth. By integrating elements from his favorite media, such as Avatar: The Last Airbender, and drawing inspiration from artists like Lana Del Rey, Psy crafts a unique sonic landscape that speaks to the multifaceted experiences of modern youth. Madsai's influence extends beyond music. He's a beacon for underrepresented voices in the entertainment industry. By openly embracing his queer identity and cultural heritage, he offers visibility to communities often marginalized in pop culture. His success underscores the importance of diverse narratives and the power of authenticity in resonating with audiences. As Chai reshapes the musical landscape with his poignant storytelling, another trailblazer is making waves in the world of drag performance. Enter Brigiding, a Filipino drag queen whose vibrant artistry and fearless expression are redefining the boundaries of performance art. Brigiding? She wasn't born on a runway. She built one, with grit, glitter, and a grin that defied every box they tried to put her in. In the world of drag, where identity is both armor and art, Brigiding didn't just show up, she exploded. From Manila's underground clubs to the global spotlight, Brigiding turned every look, every lip sync, every moment into a declaration of self. Long before the wigs, the lashes, and the spotlight, Brigiding was just John Philip Arisheta, a boy from Mandaluyong, Metro Manila, who dreamed in color while the world tried to paint in grayscale. Growing up in the Philippines, queerness wasn't always safe, but it was always real. John didn't fit in, not at school, not in church, not in the mirror, where expectation clashed with identity. But deep inside, he knew that who he was couldn't be silenced, only styled louder. As he discovered drag, something clicked. Not as an escape, but as a revelation. Brigiding was born, not just as a persona, but as a permission slip to finally exist without apology. She wasn't content with applause and smoky bars. Brigiding wanted to elevate drag, not just perform it. She co-founded Drag Playhouse PH, built stages for others to shine, and helped drag become more than nightlife. It became culture. Her break into the mainstream came with Drag Race Philippines, where she stunned with fashion, fire, and fearlessness. Whether she was giving fierce couture or bearing her soul on the runway, Brigiding reminded everyone, drag is not just about beauty. It's about truth. And her truth? Bold, unfiltered, and queer. The kind of truth that doesn't whisper, it sings. Brigiding's legacy isn't just in the looks she served, it's in the lives she touched. She shattered stereotypes about what it means to be Filipino, queer, and powerful. She's proudly gender fluid in performance, but biologically male, and unashamedly queer. She uses both she, her, and he, him, depending on the space, the moment, the mood. That fluidity isn't confusion, it's freedom. And in every performance, she gives others permission to be free too. Brigiding didn't just walk in heels, she marched. For visibility, for love, for every kid who was once told they were too much. She is proudly too much, and the world is finally catching up. From fierce drag queens to unapologetic queer voices, these 10 TikTok stars aren't just breaking the internet, they're breaking barriers. They challenge the norm, inspire change, and remind millions across Asia that being loud, bold, and yourself is the real revolution. Their stories aren't just content, they're culture. So if their energy moved you, if their courage made you pause, don't stop here. Hit that like, share the vibe, and subscribe, where pride meets power and every story counts. Heels, lace, pearls, and still hotter than every alpha male on screen. What happens when South Korea's most famous men show up looking like fashion rebels and end up rewriting the very idea of masculinity? This isn't about labels, it's about expression, presence, power. Each outfit, each pose, each performance says, I'm not here to fit in, I'm here to be seen. So now we ask you, is this fashion? Is it art? Or is it a quiet revolution in plain sight? Let's talk about it. If you've ever seen J-Hope take to the stage or anywhere else, you've seen the living definition of joyful self-expression. He's more than just a rapper or a dancer for the world-famous boy band BTS, he's a walking, talking art gallery. The first time J-Hope confidently strode out in Dior at the Grammys, social media nearly exploded. Twitter exploded with the hashtag #KingOfQueerStyle, trended globally, not because he made a statement, but because fans saw in him a style that felt fearless, fluid, and free. His outfits, a mix of bold colors, patterns, and cuts, are more than fashion. They're a clear and powerful statement that celebrates freedom, confidence, and an unabashed authenticity. Tell me, have you ever looked at one of his outfits and thought, I could totally pull that off? Or, like me, have you ever smiled and said, only J-Hope could pull that off? Let's talk about his dance moves. J-Hope doesn't just move to the music, he becomes the music. Every spin, every sharp flick of his wrists seems to defy conventional masculinity, breaking down barriers with just a mischievous wink and a bright smile. Remember his breakout solo performance on Trivia Just Dance? The playful, flashy energy he infused into his moves was infectious, creating space for queer fans around the world to see a mainstream idol proudly embracing elements that are often considered unconventional. His expressive gestures aren't subtle. They're bold, dramatic, and full of expressive charm that fans and critics alike have praised. Vogue even hailed him as the BTS member redefining masculinity through fashion and dance. And seriously, who hasn't caught themselves secretly practicing his signature moves in front of a mirror, hoping to channel even a fraction of his radiant confidence? But here's the thing, J-Hope isn't just serving fashion or dance moves, he's serving a vision of a more inclusive world. His mixtape Hope World represents exactly that. A hopeful, vibrant universe where people can exist freely and joyfully, without limitations or judgment. Songs like Daydream aren't just catchy, they convey a deeper message of self-acceptance beyond societal expectations. When he speaks in interviews, his heartfelt encouragement for fans to express their identities authentically resonates deeply. His constant shout-outs to queer artists and designers like Virgil Abloh only reinforce his heartfelt appreciation. So let's get real. Do you think J-Hope's bold approach to style and performance fosters self-acceptance and self-love? Do you feel empowered by seeing someone like him thrive without fear? Share your thoughts in the comments. We're here to foster meaningful conversations and celebrate all shades of human expression. After all, isn't that what makes life beautiful? When Taemin debuted with SHINee in 2008, at the age of 14, he was considered the youngest member of the group, a shy, soft-spoken dancer with incredible precision. But beneath that gentle exterior was an artist with a quiet defiance. From the start, Taemin's performances stood out, not only for his technical prowess, but also for his fluid, graceful, and delicate movements, which broke the rigid masculine norms of K-pop. While many idols were boxed into a masculine mold, Taemin moved differently, softer, freer, more expressive, in a way that defied his usual image. As his stage presence matured, fans and critics began to realize he was more than just a dancer. He was redefining the way male idols moved and expressed themselves. Have you ever looked back at SHINee's early performances and noticed Taemin dancing as if he were telling a story without having to shout? Do you think audiences in 2009 were ready for that kind of freedom? Taemin's 2017 hit Move marked a turning point, not just in his career, but in the conversation about gender in K-pop. The choreography, co-created with Japanese dancer Koharu Sugawara, mixed rugged masculinity with feminine grace. Taemin explained in a Billboard interview that he wanted to break the stereotype of how a man should dance. The result? A performance that was deliberately ambiguous, seductive, and completely unique. He wore sheer fabrics, crop tops, and clean lines, styles that challenged traditional male idol fashion. These choices weren't clothes, they were statements. Every outfit and movement blurs the lines of gender without explanation or justification. He's not trying to shock, he's being himself. And perhaps that's why Move resonates not just in Korea, but around the world. So here's a question for you. How do you feel when you watch Move today? 8 years later? Does it seem dated or even more powerful? What makes Taemin unique in the K-pop world is that he has never claimed to represent any ideal, but his art has opened many doors. Without ever labeling himself, he has created a space for performances and aesthetics to be seen and respected. In an interview with Marie Claire Korea, he shared his desire to touch people with his stage presence. Not to conform to expectations, but to explore deeper things. His fashion choices, from genderless runway looks to subtle makeup, are always aligned with global queer fashion trends while remaining true to his identity as an artist. He doesn't explain himself. He lets his music, image, and emotions speak for themselves. And in doing so, Taemin has built a stage that welcomes the complexity, nuance, and softness of masculinity. So let's find out. Does Taemin's influence reflect a broader shift in K-pop toward gender neutrality, or is he an outlier? If you've only known Sehun since the early days of EXO, you'll probably remember him as the quiet guy, the youngest, always calm, always well-groomed. But here's the catch. Behind that calm exterior is an artist who is quietly rewriting the rules of gender expression, one outfit at a time. And no, this isn't some fan fiction hoax. This is Sehun, using global runways, magazine covers, and red carpets to convey messages that are more powerful than words. Remember his 2021 photo shoot with Esquire Korea, dressed in a soft pink silk shirt, hair slicked back, pearl earrings dangling playfully? He's not just dressing, he's talking. Sehun isn't dressing like a pretty boy. He's completely subverting the concept of masculinity. And maybe, just maybe, he's asking the audience, why not both the strong and the soft? Which makes us wonder, when was the first time you saw a male idol break the mold and felt something change inside you? Unlike some other celebrities who always show up with a flaming rainbow flag, Sehun's rebellion is always subtle. And maybe that's what makes him so powerful. In the ultra-conservative world of Korean entertainment, where stylists often adhere strictly to gender norms, Sehun has gently pushed the boundaries, without a word of warning, without an apology. At Paris Fashion Week 2022, sitting front row at the Dior Homme show, Sehun didn't just look like a K-pop idol invited to make a splash, he looked like he belonged there. Clad in a cream blazer over a sheer top, paired with tailored culottes and a tall silver ring, he didn't say a word. And yet social media exploded. Is Sehun transgender? Why does he look more elegant than everyone else? Some even called him the Korean version of Timothée Chalamet, with higher cheekbones and less talkativeness. But the truth is, Sehun isn't copying anyone. He's quietly forging a disruptive identity through fashion, not because he has to, but because he can. And hey, how do you feel about fashion being used as a form of identity? Do you believe that what we wear can change how people see us, or how we see ourselves? Here's where things get a little deeper. Sehun isn't just a model or a mannequin for luxury brands. When you dig into his solo performances, editorial work, and even his Instagram presence, there's a clear sense of duality, attracting attention while challenging perceptions of traditional style. Take a look at his recent photo shoot for W Korea 2024. Half of the shoot features him shirtless, vulnerable, draped in a chiffon blouse and bathed in soft lighting. The other half? Heavy black eyeliner, leather pants, and a pose that dares viewers to not look away. There's no denying the tension he creates between beauty and strength, between traditional masculinity and a softer sexuality. It's intentional, and it's rare. He may not shout slogans or give interviews about pawn, but his art whispers through color, silhouette, and facial expression. There's more than one way to be a man, maybe even more than one way to be Sehun. So we ask you, dear viewer, Do you think queer expression always needs to be forceful, or can it exist in the quiet choices we make every day? We believe storytelling should invite reflection, not just attention. So tell us, what does Sehun's quiet rebellion say to you? Let's discuss in the comments. We are always here for open hearts, open minds, and open conversations. Kim Namjoon spoke in a soft yet powerful voice. While the world around him moves at a dizzying pace of flashbulbs and cheering fans, RM walks calmly, purposefully, like a man who knows who he is, though he rarely says so. Over the years, his public image has morphed into something quiet, not because of what he says, but because of what he wears, what he collects, and what he refuses to conform to. Just look at his appearance at the Bottega Veneta show in Milan. Wide-leg leather pants, sculpted jackets, soft wool shirts tucked in just loose enough to blur the line between classic masculinity and the genderlessness of high fashion. Nothing about him commands attention, and yet you can't look away. He doesn't dress to impress, he dresses to express something deeper, something unspoken. So the question is, how often do we hide parts of ourselves because they don't fit what people expect? If fashion is armor, then art is confession. While some stars decorate their homes with trophies, he surrounds himself with paintings, works by artists known for their introspective themes, often pushing boundaries. His favorite artist? Korean modernist Junho, whose art is born of loss, resistance, and quiet rebellion. RM once stood alone in front of Yoon's giant painting in a museum, and instead of taking a selfie, he posted just 2 words, "Thank you." That's who he is. There's authenticity in the texture and sincerity in the strokes. He said that art brings him peace, a breath of fresh air, free from preconceptions and expectations. It makes you wonder, what would your world look like if you surrounded yourself only with things that made you feel understood? RM has long played with shapes and materials in ways that defy conventional stereotypes. One day it's a soft pleated tunic paired with a leather jacket. The next, a sharply tailored cropped jacket paired with wide-leg pants. It's not a gimmick. It's not even a trend. It's about walking the line between soft and strong, and doing it with intentional grace. In an industry where public image is tightly managed, RM's clothing choices are poetic in their own rhythm. Simple, expressive, and quietly confident. When asked about his style in an interview, he simply said, "I wear what I feel like." That's incredibly powerful, especially when you're a global figure raised in a culture that teaches men to be themselves. So tell me, when was the last time you did something just because you wanted to, not because someone expected you to? Kim Namjoon has never waved a flag or made a statement about identity. He doesn't need to. Every outfit, every painting, every quiet museum visit is a chapter in a never-ending story. And what is that story? It's still unfolding with elegance, courage, and quiet strength. Key's story didn't begin in the spotlight or on a catwalk. It began in Daegu, a humble port city in South Korea where the skies were often gray and most boys dreamed of soccer or science, not sequins. But even as a child, Kim Ki-boom, better known today as Key, was a splash of color in a gray world. While other kids were playing, young Ki-boom was sewing paper dresses for dolls and sneaking into dance studios he watched on Japanese TV shows. That passion? It wasn't rebellion, it was instinct. He wasn't trying to be different, he just was. He followed that pull even when it led him down deserted hallways. And let's be honest, haven't we all felt like we didn't quite fit the mold at some point? Maybe Key's story reminds you of your own. Or maybe it's the reminder you didn't know you needed. That being different is often the first step to being remembered. When SHINee debuted in 2008, Key quickly stood out, not just for his voice and dance moves, but for his fashion sense that made stylists sweat. While the other members wore matching stage outfits, Key often looked like he'd raided the wardrobes of Bowie, Prince, and an alien, all at once. Leather pants, lace tops, fishnet tights, he wore them all without regret. And not just on stage. This is his real-life wardrobe too. In a 2021 interview with Dazed Korea, he explained, "I don't dress for trends, I dress for myself." That statement isn't just about confidence, it's about courage. Whether attending Paris Fashion Week in a neon green suit or working directly with designers like Charles Jeffrey and Balenciaga, Key has turned his personal style into a living statement. Vogue Korea once described him as a living manifesto of self. So tell me, have you ever worn something that made the world feel a little smaller? Because that's the magic Key taps into every time he steps out. But the art doesn't stop at the closet door. Key has brought that bold style to his music. His 2018 solo debut album Face was a bold departure from the typical idol model. Songs like One of Those Nights combine synth pop with soulful lyrics about heartbreak. But in the music video, he wanders a neon-lit, dreamy soul in a trench coat, chainmail, and a lonely gaze that resonates more than any of the lyrics. Then came 2021's Bad Love, an album that takes inspiration from 80s sci-fi, glittering synths, and campy space opera. The visuals? Imagine Ziggy Stardust meets Blade Runner if they had a kid and raised it in Seoul. Rolling Stone Korea called it pop futurism with a personal purpose. Key didn't just release a record, he built an entire world where glamour, heartbreak, power, and playfulness could all exist at the same time. And if that's not art with a purpose, what is? Do you think artists like Key are redefining what it means to express yourself in music and fashion today? We'd love to hear from you. We don't just tell stories, we open up conversations. And in this space, every voice, every nuance, every beat matters. Are you ready to join us on this journey? Picture this, a young man in South Korea, quiet but energetic, dancing around his living room, sketching out his dreams with every move. That man is Kim Jong-un, known to the world as Kai of EXO. From the start, Kai never really fit the mold of what a K-pop idol should be. While others pursued neat formulas and safe wardrobes, Kai, well, he took to the stage in see-through tops, crop jackets, and mesh gloves, and somehow, it all looked like a second skin. He wasn't just performing, he was projecting an identity that was much larger than the pop culture of the time. From the start, his fashion choices, sheer tops, crop jackets, suggested more than just physical beauty. They reflected a desire to express emotions through visual language. So let me ask you, when you first saw him in that pink silk top and oversized pearl earrings, did you sense it? A quiet rebellion? A wink at something beyond labels? For many fans around the world, Kai doesn't just challenge gender norms, he dances through them. And the stage is just the beginning. By 2019, Kai had long since stopped dressing for his whims. Instead, he began dressing to express himself. His collaborations with Gucci, especially the Gucci Kai 2021 collection, were more than just fashion. They were intentional. In one campaign, Kai wore an oversized vintage suit with a teddy bear handbag. A look that gently but firmly blurred the line between manly and cute. Was it bold? Maybe. Was it sincere? Absolutely. And when asked about his fashion choices, Kai once said, "I want people to feel something when they see me. Free, happy, inspired." He's become a visual poet, so to speak, writing verses from texture, silhouette, and courage. And don't forget that photo shoot with W Korea, where he posed in lace, sheer fabrics with a defiant look tempered by vulnerability. Some critics murmured, others applauded, but fans, we knew what we were seeing. This isn't a shock, it's a style story. So tell me, do you think fashion can be a language? A language where Kai speaks truths that go beyond what interviews can say? There's something magical about Kai dancing, as if the rules of the world have temporarily stopped. And maybe that's why his art feels so queer-coded, uncontrollable, and emotionally raw. Think about his solo debut with The way he moves, the way the camera lingers not just on power, but on sensuality. He doesn't ask for permission to be tender. He just is. In an industry where many male idols still shy away from vulnerability, Kai embraces it, wrapping it in choreography, lighting it up with fashion, and delivering it with quiet pride. Even during his military service, fans continued to revisit his performances, not just because he's handsome or talented, but because he creates space. Room for softness, room for ambiguity, room to rethink K-pop masculinity. He may never label himself, and that's his right. But his art speaks volumes. So let's discuss, what do you see when you look at Kai's journey? A fashion icon? A performance genius? A quiet cultural change wrapped up in a teddy bear bag and a wink? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, because the conversation doesn't end with the video. It starts with you. From the moment Taeyong steps on stage, he's not just performing, he's making a statement. His fashion isn't designed to please. It's meant to pique curiosity, challenge norms, and start a conversation. You might remember that legendary stage outfit, a pearl-embellished blazer over a mesh top, paired with pleated wide-leg pants and glossy eyeliner. It's more than a style. It's a statement made of fabric. Taeyong doesn't mince words. He lives it. He embraces traditional masculinity, kissing her forehead and holding her hand as they walk through a garden of sequins, lace, and soft lines. And somehow, it never feels like a performance. It feels peaceful. He's not trying to shock you, he's inviting you in. Step into a world where elegance knows no gender, where vulnerability can be worn like silk, where toughness is not in boots, but in the courage to show your softest self to millions. Isn't that strength worth talking about? Let's be real. Most idols wear whatever their stylists choose. And Taeyong? He designs, sketches, and even sews by hand. When asked why he spends nights sewing and gluing details by hand, he simply replies, "I want the performance to express who I am." And who is he? An artist whose strokes are his canvas, a dancer who paints with his movements, a dreamer who wears his emotions on his sleeve, sometimes literally, with hand-embroidered lyrics, doodles, or hearts embroidered on his clothes. One moment that stuck with fans was when he took the stage in a deconstructed suit, stripes paired with chiffon sleeves, and the back replaced with sheer organza, revealing his tattooed spine. It's about opposites. He said in an interview, "Strong and soft, chaos and calm." That outfit says more about identity than an essay. It tells us you don't have to choose between masculine and feminine. You can be both, or neither. You can be yourself. Let's talk. When was the last time someone's style made you feel seen? Not just entertained, but understood. The truth is, Taeyong has never labeled himself. He doesn't define himself. He doesn't need to. His existence as a popular male idol, confidently sporting painted nails, silk chokers, ruffled shirts, and flower headbands, without apology or explanation, is powerful in itself. It doesn't scream rebellion, it screams authenticity. Fans often say that watching him perform helps them find parts of themselves they've kept hidden. And perhaps that's his quiet legacy. He's not here to tell you who he is. He's here to show you that you don't have to explain yourself either. Through his fashion, his movement, and his music, he's created a space for those who don't fit into a box. For all the teenage boys wondering if it's okay to love pastels, for all the young artists who don't want to choose between being strong and being feminine, for all the souls tired of asking for permission to be gentle. So here's a question for you. What's the boldest way you've ever expressed yourself? A color? A photograph? A poem? A dance? We'd love to hear. This space is for all of us, no matter where we are on our journey. When we think of K-pop leaders, we think of power, discipline, charisma. But Hyunjin, he redefines power. His presence has never been about dominance, it's about vision. Since his debut with ATEEZ, he stood out, not just for his husky voice or sharp choreography, but also for his bold style. Lace tops under leather jackets, earrings dangling from his short hair, thigh-high boots on stage where most idols play it safe. These aren't sartorial choices, they're statements, and they come from him. Hyunjin has long been known as the group's fashion mind, styling his members on stage back to back, sketching design ideas, and mixing high fashion with streetwear long before it's trendy. His signature style isn't designed to impress. They were made to express. What's the message? You don't have to look like a man to lead like a man. There's a reason why Hyunjin has become a quiet force in conversations about gender representation in art. Unlike many who see as a trend, he sees fashion as a language, a space to explore softness, contrast, vulnerability, and resistance all at once. At times, he's decked out in velvet, nail polish, and silver rings on each finger. At other times, he's wearing oversized denim and cropped sweaters with feminist slogans. His DIY fashion line, where he repurposes old clothes into personal statements, is not only a fun moment, but also a statement. A rebellion against fast fashion, yes, but also a nod to something deeper. That beauty, identity, and expression don't need corporate permission to exist. This authenticity, expressed in subtle details, not just headlines, is part of why fans of all gender identities and sexualities feel understood by him. He offers space, not answers, and sometimes that's more powerful than any label. Think about it. When someone, especially a male K-pop artist, constantly and deliberately chooses to blur gender norms through fashion, makeup, and movement, what is he really saying? Not with words, with actions. We're not here to label, but we're here to observe what matters. Hongjoong's queer aesthetic isn't about performance, it's about resilience. In an industry still dominated by rigid masculinity and fan expectations, he's made a name for himself by not conforming. And that's where the conversation begins. What does it mean to lead with softness? To choose beauty over armor? To say nothing directly but still say a lot? We'll let you decide. Have you ever felt more seen just because someone is who they are? What part of Hongjoong's journey resonates with you, not just as a fan, but as someone forging an identity in a world full of labels? Let's discuss in the comments. The point isn't to define him, but to define what we see in ourselves through him. Honestly, if you've ever seen Jonghan walk into a room, you know that fitting in was never part of the plan. With his flowing hair, angelic features, and a wardrobe that was a mix of royal rebel and runway poet, Jonghan not only debuted with 17, but he humbled himself. While others tried to follow the mold, he leaned into a softer, more fluid style that was beautiful and defiant. And his fans? They didn't just notice. They dubbed him angelic, not because he played it safe, but because he dared to be different, with grace. Behind-the-scenes photos show him wearing silk blouses, layered, and blazers that look like they were plucked straight from a Paris Fashion Week runway. But it's not just the clothes, it's how he wears them. He walks with a relaxed stance, a knowing smile that says, "I'm not here to follow the rules. I'm here to rewrite them with lace and eyeliner." And let's not forget the way he turns every encore stage into a moment of soft light. Even when his makeup has melted and confetti is strewn in his hair, Jonghan still looks like a character from a high-fashion comic book. And this is where things get interesting. While many idols play it safe, Jonghan has spent years comfortably subverting gender expectations without flaunting them. Remember the "don't wanna cry" era? His voice is raw, his choreography is sharp, but your eyes are still on him, sleek, composed, and dressed in a sheer, almost haute couture-like jacket. Then on Home Run, his pinstripe suit exudes the energy of a 1940s film noir diva. Is it jazz? Is it drag? Is it brilliance? Maybe all three. He's not flashy, he's not flag-waving, but he's doing something truly bold and understated, turning softness into strength. There's a reason Jonghan's fan cam, just standing there slicking back his hair, gets millions of views. The guy has turned elegance into an act of rebellion. And when he's playing around on variety shows, switching between his deep, sarcastic voice and his sweet flirtations with his members, it's not confusion. It's variety. It's charisma wrapped in velvet. So the real question is it all just style, or is it something much more intentional? Jonghan's art isn't about loud statements, it's about a presence that feels natural, intimate, and quietly empowering. He doesn't perform for attention. He performs for the fans who see themselves in his freedom. For the boy who loves pink but hides it. For the girl who doesn't want to choose between strong and soft. For anyone who's ever thought that beauty means being constrained. And when he stands there, owning every note and every layered necklace, it's not just a look, it's a message. So now, let's turn to you. Have you ever felt like you had to hide something about yourself just to make someone else feel comfortable? When you see someone like Jonghan redefining masculinity on stage, how do you feel? Excited? Curious? Witnessed? Because that's what these stories are for. to open up new spaces, to reflect, laugh, connect, and maybe challenge some old ideas. One outfit at a time, one stage at a time, one subtle at a time. Ever since his debut with DBSK in the early 2000s, Jae has not only sung but styled. While others wore outfits handed to them by stylists, Jae looked as if he designed his own on the way to the stage. Silk, velvet, mesh, leather. He treated fabric like a mood, switching between softness and edginess in a way few dared. In an era where male idols were still stuck in rigid molds, Jae drew completely new lines. He wore chokers before they were trendy. Eyeliner turned eyes into conversation, and a quiet, deliberate grace that made every camera lens fall in love. You could say he was ahead of his time, but let's be honest, Jae was the time. And while fans roared for his voice, another group watched quietly, deeply moved by something harder to name, his refusal to dim his own light in a system built on uniformity. So here's a thought. Did Jae change the fashion scene in K-pop? Or did he simply ignore the rules long enough for the system to adjust? There's a kind of courage that doesn't need to be displayed. It's just there. Jae never had to raise a flag or speak out. He simply lived as someone who didn't shy away from tenderness, sexiness, or vulnerability. In one photo shoot, he relaxed in a white bathtub surrounded by rose petals. In another, he wore a tight-fitting lace top, his lips lightly painted, his gaze steady. It wasn't provocative, it was intentional. And while critics tried to label his look controversial or over the top, fans saw something else: authenticity. He wasn't flaunting his, he was dissolving it. And perhaps most powerfully, he never made it a gimmick. There were no jokes, no special concepts. Just an understanding that beauty can be fluid, style can tell a story, and confidence doesn't have to be aggressive. Even his Instagram became a carefully curated collection of blurred lines, floral robes, painted nails, candid selfies, and silk pajamas. But through it all, there was a lingering question. How could a man who looked this good and this refined still be considered groundbreaking? In a world that often demands clarity, labels, definitions, straight answers, Jae offers none. And perhaps that's his quiet rebellion. He doesn't argue, he doesn't explain, he shows up. Every red carpet, every magazine cover, every performance is a new chapter in his visual manifesto. And people notice. International media praise his bold fashion sense. Designers call him a fashion dream. But perhaps most importantly, fans, especially those searching for identity, self-expression, or simply wanting to be seen, have found something sacred in his choices. So let's ask the real question. When a public figure expresses himself in ways that challenge tradition, is that an act of defiance or simply the most genuine freedom? And if it makes some people uncomfortable, then perhaps that discomfort is where change begins. Jae may never define himself in your words, but he has given you the space to define yourself in his image. And maybe, just maybe, that's the boldest statement of all. And that's 10 bold artists who aren't just making music or acting in TV shows. They're redefining how we define beauty, masculinity, and self-expression. Through their bold fashion and relentless creativity, they've given millions of people the right to be different and be proud of it. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and discover more great stories right here on our channel. And hey, we welcome all perspectives, even the outspoken ones. Your voice matters here. See you